Welcome to the design of concrete structure course. So in the last lecture we have started introduction about the design of concrete structure. We have seen what are the main objectives of this course, and then we have broadly discussed what are the philosophies methods are available to design a concrete structure. So in this lecture we'll start discussing about the loads, because in the last lecture, if you recall, we have discussed in structures there are four parts, four elements. First one is beam, column, slab and the foundation. So loads are transferred from the slab to the beam, then beam to the column, and ultimately column to the footing, and through footing loads are transferred to the nearby soils. So in any civil engineering structures, if you consider either it may be bridge or flyover, shopping malls, airport, terminal buildings or high-rise buildings, multi-story buildings, shopping malls, everywhere you will find that the entire structure is made up of these four elements: beam, column, slab, as well as foundation or footing. So in this course we will be discussing how to design the beams, columns, as well as slabs. So our structures are subjected to loads, either it may be live load, dead load, or whatever may be the load. Our main whatever may be the loads acting on a structure, our primarily objective is structure should stand by considering that many loads are acting on it. So in this lecture we'll discuss about different types of loads acting on a structure, how we can analyze the each loads, and so on. So before starting into different types of loads, let's consider loads are acting already in a structure. So our first job in a design of structure is to analyze the structure. So if you recall, already in the previous semesters we have discussed about this course, analysis of structure. So in that course we have studied how to draw the bending moment diagram and shear force diagram of different types of beams and columns, and also frame structures. So analysis of structure is the first and foremost part for the design of structure. So here if you consider, this is a beam and the two concentrated load is acting, P1 and P2. So in any real structure, if you see, there will be a beam and the loads are acting. Either it may be point load, or it may be UDL or UVL, or maybe any random arbitrary loads are acting on a structure. So once we know the loads are acting, the geometry of the structure and the load parameters, our first job will be to draw the bending moment and shear force diagram. Bending moment and shear force diagram is very much important for us for the design of design of concrete structures, because it gives that which location of a structure the maximum moment is generated, maximum shear force is generated, and corresponding to maximum shear force and maximum bending moments, we provide the reinforcements in a structure. So if you see, this is a simply supported beam with the two loads acting, P1 and P2. So you can easily draw the shear force diagram. Shear force diagram will be typically seen like that. So shear force will be maximum near to the support, and shear force will be minimum at the center of the beam. And similarly, this is a bending moment diagram. If you see, bending moment is maximum at the middle of the span, whereas near to the support, bending moment is 0. So if you take a section at EE and JJ, that is different parts. So EE will be at the center and JJ is at the left hand part. So you will find that basically when you take any section, basically we are exposing the internal forces. That's what we discussed in the last semester, the analysis of structure course. So whenever we take any section, basically we are exposing the internal forces. So what are the internal forces? There will be bending moment, which is we call it ME, and then you have the shear force, which is nothing but VE, and then we have axial thrust, that is HE, or horizontal thrust. So these are the three forces in 2D structure, obviously, because this beam is a 2D beam, so these three internal forces are exposed now. Similarly, if you take a section at JJ, so same, these three forces only you will get it. But if you take a section here at the middle, what will happen? So see, at the middle section there is zero shear force, whereas you have the maximum bending moment. So that's why it is written shear force at EE section, it is 0. Similarly, axial force also, because there is no horizontal force acting on this beam, right? So there is no axial force this in the entire beam. So only you will have a moment, bending moment at the center, which is maximum, and the value is PL by 3. That's what is written here. Similarly, if you take a section here at JJ, so JJ means you will find there is a maximum shear force. So JJ is very near to the support. So the shear force here is maximum, which is P. So that's why shear force at JJ is P, whereas axial thrust is 0 because there is no horizontal force acting. And bending moment also can be calculated by easily P into X, we will get whatever is the value. So bending moment is this much. So like that, so whenever we design this beam designing means what? Designing means what could be the depth of the beam, what could be the width of the beam, how many reinforcements required at the middle, how many ties or stirrups are required in the beam. So all these things, parameters, you have to find it out. That we call it designing of structures, right? So each section we have to design separately, because if you take middle section, that's why middle section there is zero shear force, whereas bending moment is maximum. Whereas if you take section here shear force is maximum and bending moment is not maximum, but it's still bending moment is there. So this beam we have to design such that the middle portion should take maximum bending moment, whereas the near to the support it should take maximum shear force, it should withstand maximum shear force. So like that, so based on the different sections and different bending moment shear force values, we have to design our entire beam structure. Similar thing will happen with the columns also. So we have to first find it out the shear force and bending moment diagram. So in these two diagrams, basically we are now identifying which location we have to provide reinforcements or number of reinforcements, so depending on these values. So basically these are basically investigations. So if you have any disease, then first what we'll do, we'll go to doctor and doctor will prescribe some tests. So after looking into test results, doctor will suggest which medicine we should take, right? So similarly here also structural analysis is nothing but the investigation or the tests we do in a structure, in a beam. And then once we have the test result, means bending moment and shear force diagrams, then we can design the section. When means how many reinforcement required at the middle portion, how many reinforcement required at the left hand side or right hand side, whatever it may be. So these loads, whatever acting on a structure, that loads, calculation of loads is very much trivial to find it out, because whatever design we are making, that is based on the loads, how much load is acting on a structure. So if we are not estimating correctly how much load is coming into the structure, so this may additionally act adversely in the final design. That's why estimation of load is very much typical. So if we overestimate the structure, then the cost of structure will be very much high, because overestimation of loads may increase into the depth, width of the beam, which will ultimately increase the cost. Whereas if you underestimate the loads, then again our structure may not be safe, also cannot take the actual real loads. So the loads calculation is very much trivial in this design of concrete structure. So these loads we call it design loads. What is design load? In the limit state method, the design load is the characteristics load with appropriate partial safety factor. And in the working stress method, the design load is the characteristics load only. So if you recall, last lecture we have discussed there are 3 to 4 different philosophies of design. One is limit state method, another is working state method, then we have ultimate load method, and then fourth one we have based on the experimental approach, we have another method. So in the limit state method, which is now widely used in all over the world, this method, limit state method, and in this course also we'll extensively use limit state method for analyze, for design of structures. So in this method, basically we are using the characteristics load with appropriate partial safety factor. What is this partial safety factor? So let's consider a load, because when we construct a structure, there are a lot of uncertainties associated with it. There will be material uncertainties. The workers, those who are constructing the structure, they also may be skilled or unskilled. So material properties. So if so many things are uncertain in construction of structure. So for example, you are constructing a structure, maybe you're constructing an apartment building and considering only 5 people will be staying. Okay, 5 people. So if you consider the loads only for the 5 people, then what will happen if suddenly in some function day maybe 50 people came into the structure, but you design the structure with 5 members? So what will happen? Structure will definitely collapse. So more excessive loads are coming to the structure. That's why we use some safety factor, we call it partial safety factor in the limit state design, so which we multiply with the loads. So let's assume that 5 members are staying, so 5 members load we computed. Because of 5 member, how much load will be coming? But while designing or while analyzing the structure, we won't consider only 5 member, we'll consider maybe for the 10 member or maybe for the 12 member, because that's what the safety factor, we are increasing the load, although in reality load may be for 5 members, but in some exceptional occasional situations their load may increase. So we have to take care about the safety factors also, because so much uncertainty is here. So that's why we multiply the original load or design load with some factors. So that factor we call it partial safety factor. So as per limit state method, we multiply this with 1.5. Factor is 1.5. So if 5 members load are there in reality design load, then we multiply it 1.5 into 5, which is nothing but 7.5. So 7.5 load will consider, and then we'll design a structure. So basically we are going into more safer side, although only 5 members are there, but we are considering there will be 7.5 member, and based on that we design our structure. Similarly, what is characteristics load? So that I will discuss in the next slide what is characteristic load. But in this slide, you understood what is the safety factor or partial safety factor. We are increasing loads because load may, because of any answer, so many uncertainties will be there. So load may increase in that case. So that's why we just for being into safer side, we multiply with some factor. That is, we call it partial safety factor. And for limit state method of design, with this value is basically 1.5. Now in the working stress method, if you design a structure with working stress philosophy, then what will happen? Then you have to consider only characteristics. There is no multiplication of partial load, partial safety factor. So only design load, sir, is the final load. Now what is the characteristics? If you see characteristics load, in the last slide you saw I was discussing about design characteristics load multiplied with the partial safety factor. What is characteristics load? So in this code, we are using IS 456 2000. So this is our IS code, Indian standard code, IS 456 2000. And in that, you will find different clauses will be there. So in one of the clause number 36.2, they have defined what is characteristics load. So characteristics load is that load which has 95% probability not being exceeded during the lifetime of a structure. Means what is that? So what we do, we use some probabilistic calculation to find it out how much load is coming on a structure. Because as I discussed in the last slide also, the loads are very much uncertain, because load may increase suddenly or because of material disintegration, or that's why load can vary. Load is not fixed. So if we analyze a structure with fixed loading value, then what will happen? So because of the uncertainty in the load, we may not be in a safer side, because in sometimes load may increase and we have not considered in the design. So that's why the characteristics load, this new term has coined. Basically, this is a probabilistic distribution of loads we are making. So it will have a mean value. So which is normal condition. What is the value of load? For example, 5 people, as I am giving example of apartment building with 5 members are staying. So the mean value may be 5 members, but sometimes what will happen? 1 or 2 member will go out for some reason. Then you have 3 members. Load will decrease, right? So mean value is this 5 member. Then if 2 members are going out, then also you have less load in a structure. So basically, we draw this type of plots. And in some situation, if outside 2-3 members or friends are coming into the structure, what will happen? The loads of the structure will increase in that case. So that is this side you are coming. So this is middle part where 5 members are staying. If 2 members are going out, then you will be in this side. When the extra 2 members are coming into the structure, then you have loads will be increasing. So you are in this structure. So now if you see, this is the variety of loads. In some portion only 3 members, sometimes only 3 members are staying into the structure, whereas sometimes only 5 members are staying into the structure, and sometimes 8 members are staying into the structure, and sometimes 10 members also staying into the structure. Now the question is, which member or how many member you will consider while designing a structure? Because while designing a structure we have to give one single value, right? Either it may be 2 member or 5 member or 8 member or 10 member, whatever it may be. We have to assign some values, fixed values. So what code says in the clause that you draw this type of distribution curve and make sure that 95% times the load is below the load, below the characteristics load, that value we will take it. So we won't take mean value, means 5 member we won't take for designing purpose, we won't take for 3 members also, we will take somewhere here maybe at the 8 members. Basically 95% times the load is within the below that value, but only 5% times the load is exceeding 8 member to 10 member or something. So we won't design for 10 members also, because 10 members rarely will come into the structure. So this is very much uncertain, unlikely. So if you consider with 10 members, then the structure construction will be very much costly. So to reduce the cost also, code has specified don't take with full 100%, just take with 95% at least. So 95% times your structure will be safe during the entire lifespan. I mean load will be less than the this value. So this value we call it characteristics load. So this is the mean value of load, whereas this value 95% value, whatever the value comes, that is the characteristics load. So in IS 456 clause 36.2 this definition is given. So characteristics load is this one, which is nothing but mean up to this mean plus this part 1.64 times standard deviation. So that is the characteristics load, means a mean load plus 1.64 times the standard deviation will get the what is the characteristics load. So I hope this concept is very clear, characteristics load. So now let's discuss about what are the different types of loads acting on a structure. So these are the major types of loads acting on a structure. First one is dead load, then live load, wind load, snow load, earthquake loads, shrinkage, creep, and temperature effects. Like the so on, many loads also may be coming. But these are the major 5 to 6 loads acting on a typical structure. Now, what is dead load? Dead load is a load which the body, the self weight of the structure itself, because the beams, columns, slabs all are made up of concretes, right? So the beam column itself has some load. So the self weight of the structure is, we call it dead load. Self weight means non-moving, it is permanent fixed load on a structure. If no one is there in the building also, but that much load will be there in a structure, because that is the self weight of a structure, that is a dead load we call it. Then we have live load. Live load means the loads which are moving, because people, we are standing on a structure, after 1 minute we'll be going into some other portion of a structure, right? So this human load is a live load. Again, the table, chairs, all are actually movable. I mean, one time it may be in one location, after some time it may be in another location. So these are all live loads, whereas those who are fixed, that we call it dead loads. Then wind loads, if the structure is situated in a near to the coastal region, or where the high wind pressure is there, then in that case structures are subjected to wind load also. Then we have snow loads, if the structure situated in a northern part of India, where the snowfall is happening, like Shimla, Manali, that side, Kashmir region, there are a lot of snowfalls happening. So you have to consider the snow load also while designing a structure. Then earthquake loads, if the structure is situated on a fault, a highly active zones, that is near to the Himalayan zone region, northeast India or northern India, where the frequent earthquakes are happening, then we have to consider the earthquake loads also in that area. But if you construct a structure in this South India part, there is very less likely to have earthquake to have happened. So that's why earthquake load may not be much important for this consider for this region. Whereas if you consider a structure in the northern part or northeast part, we have to consider the earthquake loads also while designing a structure. Then we have shrinkage, creep, and temperature effects. So because of shrinkage, what is shrinkage? Shrinkage is nothing but when the material shrinks, no, after the water evaporates. So our structure is made up of concrete. Concrete is actually a mixture of sand, cement, coarse aggregate, and water. So after few years or so, what are the structure, the moisture content of a structure goes out, then the shrinkage may happen. In that case, you will find there is some small micro cracks in a structure. So that also produces extra load into the structure. Similarly, creep also time dependent long term the deformation, we call it creep. Similarly for temperature effects also, if the structure is situated in a in a tropical region where the humidity, where the temperature goes very high during the summer time, then the structure also might expands. Because of that, additional loads also may be acting on a structure, so that also has to be considered. These are the different types of loads acting on a structure. So before designing of a structure, all these types of loads has to be calculated properly, and then only structural analysis will be done. Now the last part in load is load combination. Now what is load combination? So now if you see, in a normal condition, the dead load will always be there in a structure, whether a human stays there or not, but dead load will be always there in a structure. So then wind load also, if the structure is situated near to the coastal region, then you have to consider wind load also. If your structure is situated in a Himalayan region, then you have to consider live load, you have to consider snow load as well as earthquake load also. So now code has specified many combinations. Total 13, 14 combinations are available. So we have to compute all the combinations, and the worst combination we'll consider for our design of structure. For example, if a structure is near to the coastal region, it may be subjected to, maybe you have a structure, consider a structure in a Andhra Pradesh region which is coastal area. There may be wind load is very much, but that structure may not be subjected to earthquake loads, because earthquake may not be happening there in Andhra Pradesh more frequently. So because of that, so we should not consider, so if you construct a structure in the Andhra Pradesh region, the earthquake load will be less, whereas wind load will be more. But if you construct a structure in the northern region, then earthquake load may be higher, but wind load may be less. So that's why different load combinations has been given by our IS code, IS 456. So we have to compute all the parameters for a structure, and which one will be more, that only we have to take for the structural analysis. So there is very unlikely that earthquake load, wind load and snow load, everything will act together. So when the earthquake is happening, that time may not be the wind load acting on it. So if you consider all loads, like earthquake load also, the wind load also, snow load also, then the load parameter will very much increase, and the ultimately cost of construction also will increase. But in reality, all the loads may not be acting together. Like when the snowfall happens, in that time there may not be wind load coming, or there may not be earthquake load coming. So if you add all the loads, you will get very high value. So code has said don't add all the values, just these many combinations they have given: dead load plus live load, dead load plus wind load, dead load plus earthquake load, like the total 13, 14 combinations are available. So compute all the combinations independently, and which combination gives the highest value, that we'll consider for our design purpose, and we'll do the analysis. So that's what is written here also. People may come together in your home, but all loads will never come at a time. So more likely that all loads, that is earthquake load, wind load, snow load, will not come together. So that's why if you consider all loads together, then the construction may not be economical in that case. So that's why load combination is also very much critical for designing a structure. So in this lecture, basically we have elaborately discussed about the what is the loads and how the loads are acting, what are the different types of loads acting on a structure, and very importantly we have studied what is the characteristics load. So characteristics load is basically that load which 95% times the load will be below that value, that is we call it characteristics load. So all these parameters we have discussed in details. Thank you so much.